A lot of people don't like the de facto two-party system that we have in America, but ending it can seem pretty difficult. People who strongly oppose Donald Trump but can tolerate Hillary Clinton are likely to vote for Hillary Clinton, whereas people who strongly oppose Hillary Clinton but can tolerate Donald Trump are likely to vote for Donald Trump. Meanwhile, third-party candidates that a lot of people support or want to support don't get very many votes because this can sometimes feel like throwing a vote away. What we need to do to end the two-party system is find a way that people can vote for the candidate that they prefer without feeling like they cost the candidate they can tolerate the election. To do that, let's look at how general elections work. In a general election, there are 538 electoral votes that any candidate can get. Whichever candidate gets the most electoral votes becomes the president. Each state is given a number of electoral votes based off its population, and all states except Maine and Nebraska are winner-take-all states. That means if you win one electoral vote from a state, you win all the electoral votes from that state. States decide who to give electoral votes to based off a popular vote, which means just counting up each person's individual vote. Whoever has the most popular votes in a state gets all the electoral votes. So you can just have one more popular vote than the other candidate, but you can win 13 or however many electoral votes your state has based off winning that one single vote. Like I said before, or I think I mentioned this before, Maine and Nebraska are not done by winner-take-all states. Maine and Nebraska are split up into individual voting districts. They have a few voting districts, I can't remember how many in each. But those individual voting districts basically function as winner-take-all states. So everyone lives in a region that acts like a winner-take-all state, and that region goes all in for a single candidate. Normally, the candidate with the most popular votes wins the election, but this is not always the case. The function of this electoral system can be used to bring smaller parties into the mainstream and influence the platform of the more established parties to go for what the people want. Here's an example of how it can work. Let's look at Bernie Sanders supporters living in Utah. In the 2012 election, Republicans received 73% of the vote, Democrats received 25%, and third parties received 2% of the vote. I haven't looked at the polling data for this year, but I would guess that Donald Trump has a pretty big lead over Hillary Clinton in Utah. I doubt they've changed politically that much. So normally, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, someone in Utah would settle for voting for Hillary Clinton. Since Bernie Sanders endorsed Hillary Clinton, that would be the logical choice, it would seem. But I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think someone living in Utah that supported Bernie Sanders should vote for Jill Stein. Jill Stein's platform is much closer to Bernie Sanders than Bernie Sanders is to Hillary Clinton, so Jill Stein would be the natural vote to cast it for. And there's no way that Hillary Clinton is going to win in Utah anyways. By voting for Jill Stein in Utah, what you're doing is you're increasing the amount of attention brought to the Green Party and increasing their chances of being in the debates and eventually winning the election next year. You would also possibly be shifting the Democratic Party's platform further to what Bernie Sanders was. Now, this was only one example, but this can work in other states where Democrats won the majority of the popular vote and Republicans won far fewer votes, and you're supporting someone besides Jill Stein. That's just an example. Now, I wouldn't recommend everyone vote that way. There's two situations where I would recommend people vote that way. The first one is that you have similar opinions of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, but you strongly support a third-party candidate, so you really don't care who wins the election, but you can bring attention to that third-party candidate that you like a whole lot. Or, if between Clinton and Trump, the candidate that you want to win lost by 15% or their party lost by 15% or more in your state in the previous election, and is polling at 15% more or more behind in this election also. So, I have two tables from the 2012 election that you can pause this on. This shows any state where the Republicans had a majority of 15% or more of the Democrats. And this shows the states where the Democrats had a majority of 15% or more over the Republicans in the 2012 election. And one final thing that you can do to help these third-party candidates get more out there is to refuse to answer polls about who you're going to vote for unless those polls have 4 or more options. That will help them get these third-party candidates get into the debates and give them a true shot at actually becoming president and helping us end this two-party system. There's going to be some links in the description below to campaign sites for Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Gary Johnson, and Jill Stein. If you haven't checked out all 4 out yet, then be sure and do so before you cast your vote this election. You may be surprised at what you find.